My name is Hartom. I am the Business Development Admissions Discharge Planner for any length retreat. We all like to wear a few hats around here because we're a team. I've been around the program for over 20 years. I've got a little over 2 years sober. I say 20 years, but it was longer, right? It was longer of trying to make a commitment, trying to be the one that says, I'm going to stop now. Like, I'm going to lose my kids, so I better stop, and going through periods of, I'm going to go to prison because the judge said, hey, dude, you need to stop doing drugs. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. Like, I don't want to go to prison, and not being able to do that. I think one of the biggest things of being in recovery was the misinformation that I received. It was like, okay, drugs are your problem. And I thought that for a long, long time because I didn't know any better. I knew that drugs caused problems. Like, obviously, when I was doing drugs, I went to jail, I lost jobs, I lost relationships, houses, all that stuff, which I realized after a while that was a byproduct of doing drugs. Like, nobody does drugs like I did drugs and have a successful life. But the other byproduct of putting it down and stopping was I shine up on the outside. Things look better. Look at John. He's doing great. He's going to meetings. He's doing that. He's doing this. Got a house, got a car, got a job. And what I didn't understand, and it took me a long time in recovery, being around a lot of recovery, going to a lot of different treatment centers, that when I came to any length, I realized that drugs and alcohol aren't the problem. The drugs and alcohol are my solution. Wow, and that sounds crazy because over the years, all I've known is people to tell me that drugs and alcohol are your problem. If I say that, then obviously the solution is to stop doing that. So that's what I always thought. I thought, well, if I'll just say no, put a plug in the jug or whatever, just do these things, just don't drink. And if it were that simple, I think 20 years ago, I had gotten sober. Any does things a little different. We identify the root of the problem because the problem isn't stopping, right? I think there's a lot of people out there that can stop. And congratulations, that's great. But the stay stopping is where the issue comes in, right? Can you stay stopped? And I think the misinformation sometimes is like, you're going to have to struggle, right? Because what's going on is if I say that drugs and alcohol aren't the problem, they're the solution to what? What is driving me back to the first one? The first one's the one that's killing me. Obviously I can't control it. So if I just stay away from the first one is what people tell me, I'll be okay. And I can't seem to do that. I seem to be putting this stuff in my body against my will. Real addicts will understand that. It's like I put it down, I get a firm resolution, something tragic happens or something big, the law, the family are all threatened. And I go, okay, what's the problem? Well, alcohol and drugs are the problem. Okay, well, I'll put down the alcohol and drugs and all this gets better. But inside, I'm getting worse. Because I'm standing there and I'm all shiny, looking real good and all polished up. And everybody's going, hey, look at John, but inside I'm going, it's all good, but why am I so miserable? And that misunderstanding of the disease is what kills us. Because again, what drives me back to the first one is that. Whether you want to call it fear, whether you want to call it spiritual malady, whether you want to call it whatever is going on, depression, restless, irritable, and discontent, whatever's going on, people don't understand that when we put down the drugs and alcohol, our situation gets worse internally. Because one thing I've got to quit trying to do that I tried to do for almost 20 years is fix an internal condition with external solutions, right? If I just get the job, the woman, the car, the house, like everybody tells me, I will be better. And that doesn't change anything in here. So until I fix what's going on in here, the root cause, because that internal condition is what drives me back to the first one. And once I do the first one, all bets are off. Who knows where it's going to land? Like usually for me, it's jail or on the streets or whatever. Some people don't have as low of a bottom, they say, but I don't think that matters. What we do here is we quit separating, right? I got to quit separating. Yes, we do different things. Heroin addicts do different things than alcoholics, but the same internal condition drives us both. So it doesn't matter if I have money, don't have money. If I have a house, I don't have a house, right? I own a business, I don't own a business. I'm on the streets or I'm staying in a hotel or I've got an apartment or I've got a great job or I'm unemployable, like all of that stuff separates me from other people. Like, oh, he's got money, I don't, I'm going to be resentful, right? Why can't he get sober with money or without money? He's going to prison. Why can't he? all of that doesn't matter. The thing that we come to realize and what we show guys here, it's all the same on the inside. We're all the same. We're only a 15-bed facility. We get guys very, very close. We're a firm believer in community. Once they get connected to community and realize that we're all the same inside, then we can all pick up the torch and work towards the same solution. And the same solution isn't staying away from drugs and alcohol. If I could do that, I'd have done it years ago, right? The solution is fixing what's going on in here. You get an idea here scientifically how that works. The best way to do that, to overcome that, to be okay with yourself when you're not drinking and drugging, is a 12-step process. And I think for years I sat around and was, and I can't say whether I misinterpreted, but I wasn't shown a proper presentation of what the 12-step process really was, and the scientific facts behind it, and how it was proven over and over again to be the successful way to overcome addiction. Because again, I'm not overcoming the actual drugs and alcohol, I'm overcoming this internal condition so that I'm happy and content in my life. Life sucks. Life has its ups and it has its downs. We aren't the only people. Like a drug addict and alcoholics like to think, well, why'd you drink? Why'd you use drugs again? Oh, my mom died. Well, a lot of people's moms died. And I don't take that away. I think psychiatrists and medication, all that has its place. But I think if you're really dealing with the true nature of addiction, a lot of people have tragedy in their life when they don't shoot heroin. So what is the difference with me? It's not the heroin. I may use it as an excuse. So until I overcome that, I'll never be able to go the trials and tribulations of life. Because what happens to me, and happened until I got here to learn different, is when I get that. When I'm standing there in that moment and I'm going, I don't know why I'm so miserable and everything looks so good on the outside, my brain says, you don't have to feel like that. You don't have to feel like that. Remember that stuff we did a while back, whether it's, a heroin addict doing, I'll just do a little kratom, make myself feel better, Suboxone, whatever, or an alcoholic, maybe I'll smoke a little weed, and we all started the same. It's like, I'm not able to live with myself. I got to get out of here, right now. And we've got to address that. And that's what any life says. We address that. Like, what's driving you back to the first one? We've got to quit telling people, right? Just put it down and you'll be okay, because that's not true, right? That's not true, because they're not okay. And then when we tell them that, they don't understand. They're like, well, you told me I'd be okay. Because that's what I did for years. And for years, I kept going back to the first one, which obviously was the downfall, right? Because, so if I want to live life happily, content, and sober, and be able to go through the trials and low spots that life throws at us, everybody's going to lose jobs, everybody's going to lose people, everybody's going to lose, things are going to happen in your life. How do we face them? I think the 12 steps, the way they were presented and the application, I think here, one of the differences is application. If I don't apply, if I don't take action, the biggest thing I think that we do here is action. Everything that we teach, you're going to do. Within the first 30 days, you complete the 12 steps with a sponsor, with a mentor. Of course, you get the therapy to go along with that. And the second 30 days is when the magic happens. Because guess what? You get to help the new guy. This creates purpose, right? I think most addicts come in, they're beaten, they're sick, they feel defeated, they feel embarrassed, guilt, shame. And that's not their fault, right? Because nobody has told them the truth. And then when they have an experience and they start helping other people, the magic happens. They're like, wow, I have purpose. I feel good. I'm useful today. Wow, I'm respected by other people. All those things that we thought we would never gain back, come back. As a result, we stay sober. Because I don't have any drive to go back to the first one. Like, nothing in my head says, hey, buddy, you're not feeling that good today. I'm not saying every day is perfect, right? We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna go through ups and downs, right? But if I have a proper presentation, application, and utilize the 12 steps and the process it provides for permanent recovery, I'm successful, right? I can get through those trials and low spots with the help of my brothers, my community, with the help of some application tools that I learned and I actually know that they work, that I get to get through these trials and low spots. And as a result, I take the excuse out, right? Why'd you drink, John? Oh, my wife left me. No, there's 52% of the people are getting divorced and they're not drinking themselves to death. But I don't see that, right? I mean, if you have my life, you drink too, right? I'm not saying to not address any trauma, to address depression, to address anxiety. mental health is of vital importance, and there's professionals who handle that. What I want to do is I want to make sure, what I never did is not separate mental health from addiction. No matter what's going on mentally, I'm still an addict. No matter what happened in my life, I would still be doing drugs. I don't need to make excuses for that anymore. I need to address this separately, the trauma and the stuff, and address my addiction with what works, right? And it's been proven over and over. The 12-step process is the best way to achieve permanent recovery, recovered for life. Like, that's, nobody ever told me that. I thought that I just had to put it down and suffer. Oh man, at least I didn't drink or use drugs today. You know, like, my life is miserable, but I'm not drinking or using. That's a miserable way to live. We don't want people to live like that. You know, the idea I had of a program was people in a church basement, styrofoam cups, drinking coffee, chain smoking, going, oh, my life sucks. But I didn't drink today, and everybody going, yay, you know, and then, like, you don't have to live like that, dude. We're active people in the community, living lives, living our dreams, you know, doing the things, achieving goals. And that wasn't set in motion by putting down the drugs and alcohol. It was set in motion by taking some action and responsibility for my own recovery.